Everybody, it's Jackson, Steven, and Andrew from Dinger Dudes. And today we're joined by former MLB outfielder Ian Miller. Ian, how's your summer going? And thank you so much for taking time to join.
What's going on, fellas? My summer is going great. A lot of nice weather. It's hot. In Cleveland and New Jersey, it is hot. Everything's going well though, man. It's a pleasure to be here and be here with you guys talking some baseball, man. So let's do it. Let's get into it.
I'm excited. So for my first question, I know you went to Wagner College as a walk-on. When you went to Wagner College, you also spent time in the foreign leagues in Mexico and the Puerto Rican Winter League. Can you describe what that experience was like playing outside the country?
Yeah, dude. So when I went, it was kind of in my early minor league grind. So I was a walk-on, kind of got to play out of state and stuff. But when I was able to leave the country, experience Puerto Rico, experience Mexico, that was man, that was big time, right? So that was kind of outside my comfort zone, different language. As a Puerto Rico was a little bit more Americanized, obviously, but
Mhm.
it was big in my development process, being able to kind of produce at a different level in a different situation with different demands, different needs, different money. I thought it was a big impact in my career. I advise the players that I work with, talk to, any type of content that I make or have on the Nine Hole podcast. I'm for it. I think playing as much baseball as possible at the highest level that you can, if you have the ability to go play, you know, baseball in a foreign country, dude, I say if the alternative is to not do it, I say do it, man. My goodness. Helps in the development with everything.
That's awesome to hear. Now, speaking of other players you have worked with, you got to be teammates in Tacoma with all-stars like Robinson Cano, Jason Worth, and Mike Zunino, just to name a few. What was it like being around those type of players, and what kind of advice did you receive from those players?
Dude, so it was what it was like around those players, man. It kind of it showed me that how you prepare has a direct impact on your outcome. So those guys are major league all-stars, major league veterans at the time that I played with them, not by chance, not by luck. Like they are putting in an insane amount of work into their routine, pre-game, post-game, breaking down film. Like it's not just the stuff you see on the field, whether it's Mike Zunino being a incredible backstop or Robinson Cano, signing a $240 million banger of a deal. Like those guys put in the work to get there, regardless of what anybody has to say, especially with, Jason Worth. Like that guy, I think in Tacoma, he was making either 1 million or 10 million bucks from like a prior deal. And he's close to retirement. He knows it. And like he's still showing up early and getting a workout in before he gets onto the field. Like that was his routine when he was an all-star, when he was like winning World Series, like when he was an absolute stud. So he was still doing that day in and day out, even in Tacoma, Washington, when it kind of didn't even matter. He had an insane career. But seeing how those guys went about it, it's like, whoa, okay. So if you want to have that type of success on the big stage, you have to be able to prepare like they do on the big stage. And dude, I saw it firsthand. I think, the advice that I could give that I learned from those guys, man, like I just said, I alluded to how they went about their business day in and day out. What you put into the game is what you're going to get out of it, dude. So like anybody can get lucky in a pitch. Anybody can like if somebody's throwing if Hunter Green's throwing 102 miles an hour, obviously like it's tough to hit that, but anybody could theoretically get lucky in 100 swings and like accidentally tick it and put it in play, right? You can't get lucky over the course of, a week. You can't get lucky over the course of a season, dude. Like you can't rely on luck. You have to rely on preparation. And so just the stuff that I learned and saw from those guys and the advice that I could give pass on is like, dude, what you put into the game, you get out of it, bro. There's no shortcuts. And like, even though the money is 10 times crazier up top and the treatment and stuff, that doesn't mean that they prepare any differently. Like they still grind like minor league dudes because they are trying to hold on to their spot. They know everybody in the world's coming from for their spot. So if they're doing a rehab game in AAA Tacoma when it's kind of fucking like raining and stuff, sorry for cursing, and like the weather's not ideal and we just had a delay and the food stinks, like those guys are still getting after it like they're multi-million dollar big leaguers because that's what the game requires out of you at such a high level, bro. So that's definitely I hope that answers your question. I'm passionate about it, obviously, dude, but that's for sure what I learned and what I could like pass on from those dudes.
Now, for my final question before I pass it on to Andrew Jefferson, I like how you mentioned the big stage and the big leagues. When you reached the majors in 2019, can you describe what that experience was like in your debut, especially the atmosphere in Fenway Park? Because I recently got to go to a game last week. It was a Red Sox Yankees, and it's one of the most electric experiences that I've seen when going to major league games.
Yeah, bro. Electric is an understatement. It was, dude, so the air is different. Like the atmosphere closer, the closer you get to a major league field, dude, it just feels different. The air feels almost electric. And I swear to you, like I can't describe it any better than that. So when I get to the big leagues for the first time, I'm in Comerica Park or I'm in Detroit. That's where I got called up, but I didn't debut until, like you said, Boston, where I kind of had my wits about me. Like I came to, I'm like, holy crap, this is really happening. I showed up in Detroit and dude, the air feels different. It feels like electric. Even dude, anywhere you go, the surfaces are pristine. Obviously, the crowds are nuts, dude. You're making money, whether it be for the first time or whether it be consistently. It's crazy, man. And so it's easy to, like I said, we talked about preparation in the last question. It's easy to get sidetracked with media, looking at your bank account, going into the food room and having a couple chefs be like, "Yo, what are you in the mood for?" Because like you name it, I'll make it for you. Anything you want, you tell me, it'll be here. You want a pregame, you want a postgame, you want it in between innings, like we'll make it happen. You know what I mean? So it's easy to get sidetracked. Uh, it was amazing, bro. So debuted in Boston. I was able to kind of like my family was in town. My mom, my wife. It was amazing. Dude, I had to like pinch myself multiple times during that day to be like, yo, is this really happening? I get in as a defensive replacement, go into center field, and yeah, it's just the air and the atmosphere is different, bro. You're breathing in like it's just electric, dude. It's just electric. Obviously, your mind's spinning at a million miles an hour, bro. But that's my immediate reaction to that question. It was just a, trying to take in the moment and be as present as possible, and just I wish I was able to describe it better. You know what I mean? It's just like something that's cemented in me forever, but it's tough to describe. You know what I mean?
Well, it's good to hear a firsthand experience from a major league player, especially when it comes to MLB park atmospheres. Well, thank you for answering my questions,
Of course,
and
bro.
I'll pass it on to Andrew Jefferson.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I just want to personally thank you myself for hopping on this interview with us because this is why I love baseball so much, and it's everything you've already talked about. Because I've said it before on the show, and I'll continue to say it on the show. But to me, Major League Baseball is the hardest sport to go pro in because it's just like you've mentioned, it's a nonstop grind. Even when you make it to the major league level, you still can't let go of your routine of getting better and putting in that work because, like you said, no roster spot is safe. So I just absolutely love talking to guys such as yourself who has been able to reach the major league level because that in and of itself is a huge accomplishment. And I know you've talked about routines and players that you've ran into that kind of help develop you as a player. But is there any other ways that your time with teams like the Tacoma Rainers and the Arkansas Travelers help prepare you for like your major league opportunities?
Yeah, dude. First of all, Andrew, pleasure. Thank you for the kind words, bro. Dude, I think what prepared me at the double A and triple A level, like you said, the Travelers and the Rainiers, the stuff that prepared me for my opportunity at the major league level was the failure, was the like I had a lights out 2017. So I won like the Mariners minor league hitter of the year award, Ken Griffey Jr. award for having a just an outstanding offensive year. And I had to really learn for the first time there in 2017, like, whoa, okay, so there's a pecking order. Just because I'm hitting 330 in double A doesn't mean that I get promoted because like there needs to be there needs to be a reciprocated spot or reciprocated move, because the rosters are like fixed up there, dude. So like that was big. Dealing with okay? It's not politics. It's like, dude, there's only 26 spots or 30 spots or however many there are now. So it's like, in order for me to get moved up, somebody either needs to get released or traded or DFA'd or put on the injured reserve or injured list, however you want to call it, dude. So I learned that there's more to my career as a major league player than just like my performance. So like there had to be a whole bunch of factors to kind of line up in order for me to get a major league opportunity. That was my first real experience there. I think also in Tacoma Rainiers in 2000, 18 and 19. What prepared me, dude, was seeing how veterans prepared, bro. Because when you're coming up, when you get to double A, but more so triple A is when you get around the veterans, bro. So you get to see how they prepare, how they go about their business, what they should expect, how BP's really taken. There's a misconception of like how BP should be taken, and it's not necessarily like 5 rounds of five and you take the quickest swings possible to get out of the cage. Like you're feeling it, you take a second or 2 seconds in between each swing, get into the groove of your stance, and it's like just seeing that, I didn't know that. Like seeing how these guys went about their business, but just kind of seeing the stuff behind the scenes, bro. Like there's a whole lot outside of your control on whether you get to the big leagues or not. As you alluded to it, it's a really hard sport to make it to the top end. And so even with success or without success, in order for you to move up or move down, like there's some things that are really outside of your control, bro. So I think that's my time at the Travelers and the Rainiers. That's the stuff that got me prepared the most, I think. It's all the adversity and the failure and stuff. And it wasn't even the stuff, some of it that I couldn't control.
Right, right. And some previous guys that we've interviewed has also said the same things about how failures are just as big as success points in baseball because that's what gets you better at the end of the day. So awesome insight
If you
there.
let it, dude, exactly, not to
Right.
cut you off. If you let
No, you're
it,
good.
some people where it's like, okay, I'm hitting 330 in double A Arkansas, and the Mariners stink this year. So like, why am I not getting called up or getting an opportunity? It's like I could use that as a way to like add a chip on my shoulder and fuel to the fire and
Mhm.
play harder, or I could be a mental midget and be like, oh, the Mariners are screwing me again this year. I'm
Right.
overlooking it. This adversity is like screwing me, screwing my career. Where it's like, dude, I just had one of the best years, of my career, but also kind of in the league. It's like, dude, I'm putting myself in a great spot. I feel like I was able to let that, like you talked about, you could use it as a positive or a negative. And if you use it as a positive, like you can use that as kind of motivation and a stepping stone. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. It's all about perspective at the end of the day. So yeah,
Yeah, bro.
awesome. Awesome insight to hear from a guy like yourself who's experienced it more than of course any of us have. So that's some good
Thank
stuff.
you.
And yeah, absolutely. And when we had knew that we had the opportunity to interview you, I actually went on the Nine Hole podcast to listen to a few episodes that you're
Sick.
on there. Yeah, and it was a great listen, dude. I absolutely enjoyed it. And I also read an online article that in regards to those episodes, and I'd love for you to give us some more emphasis on what motivated you to pivot from a career in baseball to starting your own business and podcast, and how do you use your sports background in your new ventures, such as your business and podcast?
Yeah, dude. So in 2021, that was my last year playing.
Mhm.
I had majored in economics in college. I like numbers, and so I took a wealth management job in Cleveland, Ohio, right after 2021. So started there in April 2022, spent a year and a half there, and kind of learned the ins and the outs of how a successful business looks and operates behind the scenes. I knew from all of my time at baseball, in major league locker rooms, contenders in AAA locker rooms, and just like grinding. Um, what a leader is in the baseball world, what that looks like. Being around dudes like David Ross, Rocco Baldelli, I'm like, dude, I would like to do my own thing. I had something in my mind about a show or a podcast or some sort of idea, and I had this kind of idea formulating, writing it down, building it in my mind over and over. Couple of years, and then, dude, I've saved up some money, so I took the money that I made in baseball. I took the wealth management concepts that I learned in the wealth management industry. I'm a CRPC, which is like I specialize in retirement, and I know like
Okay.
how to save and plan for retirement. So I took the money that I made from baseball, I'm not saying it was a ton, and then the concepts I made and learned in wealth management, and I stretched it, and I tried to build on the idea of the Nine Hole podcast, where it's like, Dude, I was a walk-on in college. Didn't have a scholarship to a D1 school, walked on, took it. You know what I mean? Grinded,
Right.
wasn't handed anything, got drafted where I got drafted, made it to the big leagues, and it's like, okay, there's something there. Maybe I can leverage and use my story and being a nine-hole, but just grinder every step of the way. Dude, that I think that relates with probably 98% of the baseball population, as opposed to the 2% that are SEC caliber, full ride, dude, maybe top first round talent, throws
Right.
165. Like I relate more to the other dude. So that was the idea. And so I I started with an idea that it was going to be a sports podcast, and then it morphed into we're now at a media company where it's like there's marketing and promotions involved now, and there's specific content that I do for specific people and specific. Yeah, I'm going to be at the All-American event this weekend in Nashville with Prospect Wire. So it's their All-American
Nice.
event, and so the nine hole is going to be live at the All-American event. I'm going to be doing the on-field stuff, home run derby, doing content with the kids. There's going to be parents there. I'm going to be kind of interacting with them, talking about the process, everything. So I started the nine hole as a way to like give back to the next generation. I wish I knew all this stuff when I was 15, 16 years old to 20, 21 years old about the process and mindset and Trevor Hoffman and Randy Johnson's mindset and Jamie Moyer's mindset and Jason Kipnis. Like I'd loved all that, but I didn't have access to that. So I figured that's what I would do with the nine hole. Like I said, it morphed into a media company. We're now doing a whole bunch of stuff for a whole bunch of like respected people and brands and stuff, and dude, a whole bunch of opportunities are happening. And so that's where we're at right now, man. Uh, yeah, just trying to use everything that I've accrued knowledge wise, contact wise, teammate wise, and just try to benefit the next generation with it, bro. And so one day I'd like to have the nine hole be a brand that is synonymous with like sports media. Barstool Sports
Oh yeah.
has a
Hmm.
huge hold on the sports media industry. A lot
Hmm.
of those guys didn't even play, the sport, especially not professionally or at the major league level, right? So that's what I wanted to start here. And I respect the shit out of Barstool, bro. Awesome stuff. But maybe I could build this not on smoke shows of the day or sports gambling. Maybe I could build it on like positivity and just, empowering the next generation. So that's my like elevator pitch, my 2 minute speech on what I'm doing here with the nine hole, bro. So I'm living the dream.
No, man, that's perfect. And I couldn't be happier for you, man. Because even when I
Thank you, brother.
listened to the podcast, I myself wasn't a baseball player, but even listening to the podcast, the thing that I gathered from it was I wonder how many youthful baseball players could benefit from hearing things like this. Because, like you said yourself, you didn't have access to it when you were going through your
Yeah,
journey.
bro.
So, how much more young players are going to benefit from listening to the words that you have to say because they now have access to it? So, I just felt happy for those guys because I mean,
Love
I
it.
was like, man, even for a non-baseball player, this is awesome to hear. And I'm happy to hear that your platform is growing. And that's awesome to hear what you're doing this weekend, man. That sounds like a ton of fun. So yeah, you go enjoy that, man. But my final question for you is I also came upon a few articles that you publish on websites such as Outkick. Is that correct? You publish some articles on there?
So I have a newsletter on
Okay.
Beehive. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to from Outkick, but so I have a newsletter, the nine hole newsletter that I goes
Okay.
out every single weekend. And so I think that might be what you're talking about. And so what I do is everything that's on social media is obviously like you don't have to pay for it, bro. I'd love to help as many people as possible. And the only thing that I require is your attention. If you want to consume the stuff and benefit, like you just need to give me your attention. I don't need anything other than that. That's there for your benefit. The nine hole newsletter goes even deeper into that, where it's like it's another free resource. I enjoy writing. I spend a lot of time where I'm able to put my thoughts down probably more so and better, more clear, when I type or write out. And so I'll do a 750 to 2,000 word newsletter every single week where I take these concepts that are related to the baseball development process, whether it be like, um, the three mistakes that, keep you average in baseball, or whether it's recruiting, or whether it's dealing with failure, adversity, and stuff like that, different mindsets on success, how to hit 300, right? The mindset. I can't teach you mechanically how to hit 300, but I can tell you how to maybe become a 300 hitter, right? This is how I did it. The years that I hit 300, I'm able to do this and that. I'll break it down more so in writing, and I'll be able to spend more time with it in writing. And so I provide more value, even more value, with the 9 hole newsletter. I think that's probably something you're talking about, and it's free. I have a link to it in, on my Instagram and all my other platforms. But it's like if you go out of your way to sign up for my newsletter, I will go out of my way to provide you with more information that will benefit you, and has worked for me and other players that have maximized their career, gotten to the big leagues. And I'm just trying to provide as much as I could there, man. So that's what I'm doing with the writing aspect of it, dude. It's been a hit. Hundreds of athletes like take it in and consume it. I go a step further with that too. So I have all the social media stuff, the 9 hole newsletter, and then I work one-on-one with select members of the audience that want to go even further, kind of in the baseball development process. I work with like middle school kids all the way up to Division I athletes, to maximize their careers, help them with goal setting, crushing goals, just a whole bunch of stuff, dude. So we got a whole lot going on.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you touched on all that because that actually was going to answer my question. I was just going to ask you, how do you use your news article to, help younger players develop and, get, those one-on-one interactions? So that's perfect, man. So awesome. And I'm going to bring it on to Steven now because I know he's got some great questions for you as well. So Steven, take it away.
Sweet.
Great questions might just be an overstatement there, Andrew. I think I haven't. I like getting an overall view of the game with guys that have actually played it. And one thing that I've really been interested in watching baseball over the few years is the changes that we've seen with the rules. Obviously, we're seeing rules when it comes to the shift rule being implemented and throwing over to first more than twice. So I just wanted to get your opinion on these rule changes. Are you a fan of the changes we're seeing in the game?
Dude, if it's good for the game of baseball, it's going to be hard for me to really say that it's poor, right? If it's helping,
Right.
it's the demographic of the audience that is watching baseball is getting younger. That's what they wanted. They wanted to speed the game up. They wanted to put more butts in seats. They wanted it to be more appealing and have more kids play baseball, make it cooler. And dude, it seems like that's exactly what's happening. Like I said, the viewership numbers are starting to skew younger. So the younger demographic of kids are starting to consume baseball, dude. That's dope. So it seems like they're pulling it off. It seems like I got out of baseball right at the wrong time to be a stolen base threat, because if you're
Hmm.
limited on how many pickoffs you can come over, and then like I'm seeing some of the interference calls at second base where it's like, oh, the second baseman or shortstop's knee was just a little too much into the base path, like he's automatically safe. It's like, okay, I feel like they probably made it a little bit easier on the stolen base opportunity. That's my 2 cents. Um, Dude, I saw something where they were messing around with multiple bases at first base. What? What? Dude, what? What is that? Come on,
That's
bro.
crazy.
What? And they're messing with the size of the bases. And
Mhm.
it's like, dude, so I knew how many like steps in my mind when I'm stealing second base. I knew where my lead was. I knew how many steps it took me to get there. I knew like it was synchronized. I knew it was like right, left, right. Yeah. Boom. After my 6 or 7 step, it's diving head first. And it's like, dude, we're changing all these things. Look, if it's helping with audience and retention and viewership and selling tickets, bro, I get it. I'd crumbled, bro. So right when I got out of baseball is right when the shot clock started. Dude, I didn't like it one bit. Of course it did speed the game up. Of course it did. But I like my routine where I'm fixing my batting gloves in between ABs and stuff, in between pitches. Dude, I get it. I get it. I'm not necessarily like the biggest fan of it, but in order for me to play baseball and for us to put forth the best product of baseball, if that's what's for the game, then I'm with it. You know what I mean?
No, no, absolutely. I didn't hear about that multiple base first base rule. I think that would be crazy if we actually see it. I've seen that in slow pitch softball, but to
Okay.
see that like getting that in getting that in a major league game, I think that would be actually be a crazy rule.
Dude,
Um,
I didn't know if they implemented it or not. I was reading about it like, hey, there is going to be an idea like this. I wasn't sure if they were going to like
wow,
implement in the big leagues or AAA or whatever it was, but I was reading some about it. That would be absolutely nuts, bro.
that would be. I mean, I didn't even think we'd see, and I'm sorry, I'm getting on a tangent here, but also the rule we've seen in AAA that's trying to get implemented too. They're testing that on AAA about challenging if a ball is outside of the strike zone or not,
Mm,
and they use that zone on the board to see if it's a ball or a strike.
ooh, dude. I kind of like that. I don't know how it's gonna play out, like you said. But dude, if you want to challenge a ball or a strike, dude, I just don't know what the penalty or like how it's gonna be reciprocated or enforced, right? Because if you abuse it, I mean, what's the penalty for abusing it, right? It'll
Right,
be interesting to see, dude, all these changes.
Hey, that
right.
that whole pitch thing would have saved Angel Hernandez's career, by the way. Just
Mhm.
wanted to throw that out there.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh,
Crazy,
man.
dude.
Would have said that. Listen, man, we're still seeing bad calls. Angel Hernandez might have been retired, but we're still seeing some calls. But that's
I
that's the
get
life
it.
of an umpire. Um, I also wanted to talk to you about you mentioned so much in like the past questions about work ethic when it comes to being in the minors and how it has to be consistent if you're going to make it into the major leagues.
Mm.
Like you said, you were in 2017, you were obviously you had those great years. Do you think that there's a shift when it comes to like new ways and technology and all this other stuff that we're seeing in AAA and all these other places? We've mentioned in past interviews about how I mean there are statistics now when it comes to these players about like, well, we think you're going to be good at hitting this pitch, and you're thinking blah blah blah.
Mm.
What do you think has been that shift in the work ethic with all this new advances in technology in the game?
Dude, so yeah, obviously like with the extra amount of data that is available, and just data that they have on you and that's tracked. Like every swing is monitored, every swing is on camera, every data point you can dive into it. There's multiple apps, there's multiple products, there's multiple like technologies that can just bombard you with data. For me, that was something that I could easily get confused with and like overwhelmed with, bro. I actually thought sometimes having too much data was a detriment to myself and what I was gonna do, just because I was old school, right? The data helped me, dude. The data definitely helped me. I knew that if I focused too much and solely on the data, that I would lose track of maybe the mechanic and stuff. And so, my best year, 2019, is when I dove into the data the most. I had a good support system around me, with staff members that were able to break down that data and keep me consistently on it. I was in a different jersey by the end of that year, right, with Minnesota, and then I was in it with a different organization, the Cubs, for the next 2 years. People, different organizations teach different things and they have access to different technologies and they implement different technologies different ways. Not that I'm making excuses, but it was easy for me to kind of get away from that, especially when I was with the Mariners and they had a certain way of doing it. And I'm just trying to stay afloat over here in Minnesota and then Chicago. And it's like, okay, but dude, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that is available to these guys. Um, you have access to it. Just because you have access to it doesn't necessarily mean that like it could be a whole lot of good for you. Sometimes, like in my case, where I could get consumed with it and just my head could start spinning and stuff. Sometimes it's a benefit, sometimes it's not. You know what I mean?
All right, I totally get that. I can see how with all these different like things of like you threw this pitch and this is with this pitch you're getting a higher strikeout rate with this pitch. I mean, obviously you're getting out of the zone. I mean, it's obviously so you get so wrapped up into this to where you just forget what got you into the game in the first place, and that's just
Yeah.
based on your natural skill. I mean, you have to have a balance in when it comes to those things. So I really that's awesome to get that insight from somebody that's actually played the game. I want this last question to just be kind of a fun one. Can you tell me about what a favorite moment in your career? Just a favorite moment, like with whether it's with the Cubs or AAA, just a favorite moment personally in your career.
I think my favorite moment um in my AAA career, I would say it was when I got traded. So I was always kind of hoping for a great call-up story. I didn't necessarily have a great call-up story because I was with a new team, the Rochester, I think they were the Red Wings. I'm pretty sure they were Red Wings. Rochester. And so I get traded over there. I'm there for like 3 weeks or so and 4 weeks, and I get called up. I didn't really have a relationship with any of those guys, so it wasn't insanely special. I knew what I was there for too. I
Mm.
expected it. So when I had gotten traded with AAA Tacoma over to Rochester, the Minnesota Twins AAA. It was an awesome moment, man. I was in OKC and I remember we were facing a knuckleballer that night and I got a base hit off of a knuckleballer in AAA. It's insane. Got a hit on the fastball too, which is wild. And so I remember getting called in and everybody was just happy for me. Roy Howell, Darren Brown, dude, awesome guys that I spent a whole lot of time with. And it was a pretty special moment, dude. So I think that was probably, one of my favorite moments of my career. All my teammates having my back and happy for me, seeing the hard work I put in, dude. And starting in minor league spring training that year, like, you know, what was it? 6, 7 months later, I'm getting traded and then going to the big leagues. 27 years old in minor league spring training, oldest fucking dude in minor league spring training. And then, before the end of the season, I'm in the big leagues. Like, I think that was probably my coolest moment, dude. So, yeah,
Yeah, so that's awesome, man. Man, that's such a cool story. I love, I
appreciate it,
love,
bro.
I love hearing stories like that. But yeah, that's what I've got.
Love it. Man, that was awesome. Appreciate you boys having me.
Dude, it
Hey,
was an awesome time, man. Like I said earlier, man, every time we have the opportunity to do these, we don't hesitate because we're blessed that you took the time yourself to join us because it's only going to help us grow ourselves and just the
Of course, bro.
different perspectives that we hear from other players just really kind of showcases the game, what really baseball is all about because it's different from everybody. Everybody has a different experience with it, and it's all just for the love of the game. So, yeah, definitely thank you for your time and sharing your experiences throughout baseball.
For sure, fellas. For sure, man. Let me know if I can ever do anything for you guys, man. This has been awesome. Looking forward to seeing the continued success.
Oh yeah, we'd love to have you back on
Well,
down the
yeah,
road. Absolutely,
Sounds
man.
good,
to your
man.
point,
Hit
Absolutely.
me up.
man. We
Hit
love to
me up.
like, yeah, we don't want this just to be a one-time thing. We'd love to continue to, talk to you and just like get the insight of somebody. And obviously, we wish you success with the Nine Hole podcast and
Oh yeah.
just giving you. And I hope that you have more success with teaching the younger generation about the game.
Appreciate that, boys. Thank you, man. I'll catch you guys later, man. Let me know if you need anything.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right, boys. Take
you
care.